Ravens flock, we just concluded day 6 of training camp and we got hit with some pretty scary news earlier today. So, star tight end or up and coming star tight end Isaiah Likely, he got injured during training camp today. He was in the midst of a one-on-one rep with Sanusi Kane, and somehow he got hurt and ended up having to get carted off the field. Now, when I first heard this news earlier today, there was a part of me that was kind of panicking because I'm like, man, I was, we're all expecting Isaiah Likely to really have a monster year. And it's like when you hear somebody got carted off the field, you assume the absolute worst. But based off of what we are hearing shortly after the fact, it seems as though it may not really be that bad. According to John Harbaugh, Likely rolled his ankle and they're going to get an MRI tomorrow, and they're expecting him to miss a few weeks. Now, Harbaugh in the past has been known to downplay the severity of certain players' injuries, and he says that, oh, it's only going to be day to day or week to week, or it'll be short, and the next thing you know, the player ends up missing like the whole season basically. But I'm hoping that in the case of Likely that he is telling the truth about this situation, because if it's a rolled ankle, even though that's obviously not ideal, that's something that you would imagine isn't going to be too severe to the point where he'll have to miss significant time. We still have over a month before the actual season starts. So I would assume that, like, if it's just a minor, because if I'm sure most of you have experienced rolling your ankle, more often than not, it's usually that first couple of minutes right after it happens where you barely feel like you could walk and it feels terrible. But then shortly after, even if it may sting a bit, usually you can kind of get by and be just fine without having too much pain. Now, obviously, if it's more severe, like hopefully it's not any sort of fracture or any sort of like high ankle sprain or something more severe. Obviously, if it's just him rolling his ankle, I'm expecting him still to be ready to go by week 1, or at the latest, maybe like week 3. But I do think he'll be there week 1, to be honest. So hopefully Isaiah Likely has a speedy recovery. This is a contract year for Likely. There was reports a few weeks ago the Ravens offered him about, I believe it was roughly 13 million a year, and I haven't heard much since, so I'm assuming Likely wasn't on board with that, which I understand. From a talent level, we all know Likely is a top 3 tight end in football, even though he doesn't have the numbers yet because he's sharing so many snaps with Mark Andrews and Charlie Kolar. We all see that from a talent standpoint, he is like one of the 3 best tight ends in football. So I'm sure he's probably looking at some of these other deals and looking at guys like Trey McBride on the Arizona Cardinals, who just got a massive payday, and he may want something in that ballpark. We'll see how it goes. I'm sure that is also going to be motivation for Likely, on top of him just wanting to compete and get his name out there and help win the Super Bowl. Some other news that came out regarding day 6 of training camp that was more positive was actually about Devontae Walker. They're claiming that he had another good practice. We'll see if that translates. Of course, I would like to see Devontae take a step forward this year. I think that would be awesome. We all know that he's the fastest on the team, so you would love to see them figure out a way to get him on the field so he could use that speed to his advantage. But only time will tell if that's truly going to translate. We also saw Lamar break out for a big touchdown run. And with the news of Isaiah Likely getting injured, I really didn't want to see Lamar doing doing kind of like a somersault flip into the end zone, but obviously they're just having fun, so it's no big deal. It was funny though to see Jair, even though he's on the defense, seeing him be so happy for his boy that he jumped in and started to celebrate with the offense. That was kind of funny. Outside of that, there wasn't anything else super notable, at least none that I could think of. But let me know, are you guys worried about Isaiah Likely's season? Do you think he's going to be able to make it the entire year without this injury coming back to bite him? Or do you think this is a situation where it may nag him and mess with what he can do for the rest of the season? And are you expecting Isaiah Likely to ball out in his contract year, or do you think this is going to be a situation where either he is too hurt to play at his full potential, or the Ravens possibly suppress what he does this year in order to offer him less money? we'll see. I don't think they're gonna suppress him because he's just too good to do that. But anything's possible, honestly. Es- Especially when money is involved, and we all know the Ravens really don't want to pay anybody like that. But we'll see how things go. Isaiah Likely, up until this point, has been a pretty durable player. Like and this is about to be his fourth season, and I can't remember any instance of him actually being hurt. He's usually available, so I'm gonna assume that he will be available to start the season. But let me know, do you guys have any concerns about Isaiah Likely?